May 14th, 2020, job report, over 36 million unemployed. As of this recording a year later, we are experiencing some major economic problems. And it is so enraging to me that this is going on, because the amount of people a year ago when we were getting these job reports and we were ringing the bell and we were sounding the alarm, we were saying, look, this is not okay. Our economy is robust, but it cannot handle this. This is not okay. We can't do this to people. We are all interconnected with the economy, ironically, and everything touches everybody else. The federal government cannot swoop in and make everything okay. That is a pipe dream. That's naive. But yet another job report. They were coming every week, and it was awful every week, and more awful and more awful. And this got shrugs. This was breaking a couple eggs to make a safety omelet. 36 million. We are, if you look around today, the gas shortages, the unemployment numbers, the massive inflation, all of this was completely unnecessary. We did not need to do any of this to combat a virus. And we did this. And this is 36 million people. These are real people. And I would like to point out that a lot of this, most of this, was perpetuated and applauded by so-called progressive people. And these are people who claim to have empathy. These are people who claim to care about their fellow man, the lower classes. These tend to be elite people, privileged people that think that they can sit behind their little laptops and their computers ensconced in their homes, nice and safe. And if they can do it, then you should be able to too. And if you can't, then we'll have the federal government make it so you can as well. That's their little theory. And these are the people that broke our world. This gets worse, people. Spoiler alert. This is not the end. And they ignored this. Wow. Also on May 14th, we had the first mask bust.
These social distancing enforcement efforts aren't working. Overnight, a video surfacing showing a rough arrest of a young mother with her child in her hands. Police say it happened before noon Wednesday at the Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center station. Officers stopping her from going into the subway with her child because she wasn't wearing her mask properly. What followed was this. The woman identified as 22-year-old Kalima Rosier, yelling at the cops to get away from her. As they tried to escort her out of the station, things got physical.
That's too much, man.
This poor woman was just like, I'm not having any of this. This is ridiculous. I don't have to wear this thing. And she got popped. Team Lockdown was very supportive of this action. And this was the first one. It just gets worse. And here we are a year later, and they're still doing this. Wow. And finally, on May 14th, 1/4 of American restaurants won't reopen. Open Table says. This is an article in Bloomberg. Once again, Team Lockdown, the self-styled progressives mostly among us, were A-okay with this. They were thinking like, this looks like a restaurant in Red Country, so we don't care. They'll say that they care, but they didn't really care. The ignorance of millions of Americans, tens of millions of Americans, who simply do not understand that 1/4 of American restaurants closing for good is not only not a good thing, it is a cancerous, rotting thing. This is people's response to this. Some people that I was talking to and the comments on this article in particular were absolutely astonishing, because it comes back to this whole idea of like, oh, we got to break a few eggs to make a COVID safety omelet. The failure to understand how this could affect you is a problem. I mean, who skipped their Econ 101 class in junior high school? This was something that people really thought that we could just overcome with gumption and willpower. And the government, of course. And oh my God, the people that were okay with this, and there were tens of millions of people that were okay with this and are still okay with this. These are families. These are people who are, likely, bankrupt now, homeless. People start new businesses all the time. But if you've ever tried to start a business, in most states, it is an onerous process. It sucks. It's like legal crap. It's paperwork. It's regulatory shit. And depending on the industry you're in, it gets worse and worse and worse. I love to cook. I worked in restaurants my entire youth. Loved it. I would never open a restaurant. It is insanely hard. The margins are insanely small. And to sort of just brush this aside, which is what happened, is cruel. This is millions of American people. And this just broke my heart. This narrative of, dollars versus lives. Who does that? How is that remotely a helpful framing of the situation? You can just be greedy with your money because we want to save lives. The adults in the room understand that it's a balance, that you can treat a virus and handle a pandemic while also not catching the world on fire and destroying the economy and ruining lives. This was wrong. You were wrong. You broke the world.